We have to talk about abortion. I have a new book coming out, and I'm calling this chapter Modern Day Child Sacrifice, because that's what abortion is. Life in the womb, God's design versus man's rebellion. Abortion is one of the loudest battlefields of our time. It's framed as healthcare, choice, or bodily autonomy. But underneath all the slogans, the reality is sobering. The intentional taking of innocent life created in the image of God. Scripture is not silent on this, and neither is science. Both testify with clarity. Life in the womb is life. To deny it is not only rebellion against truth, but rebellion against God Himself. Life begins in the womb. From the very beginning, the Bible speaks of life in the womb as real, valuable, and known by God. Genesis 1:27. Humanity is created in God's image. That image bearing begins at conception, not birth. Psalms 139:13-16. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. God Himself forms life in the womb and ordains its days. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. God knew Jeremiah as a person before birth. Luke 1:41. John the Baptist leaps in Elizabeth's womb at the presence of Christ in Mary's womb. They just get near each other, and John the Baptist is excited. Unborn children responding spiritually. Exodus 21:22-25. The Mosaic Law gave protection to the unborn. If harm came to a child in the womb, it was treated as harm to life itself. We still have those laws in play. You kill a pregnant woman, it's a double homicide. From cover to cover, the Bible calls what is in the womb not potential life, but life. Science confirms what Scripture declares. Biology agrees from the moment of conception. A unique DNA code is formed, distinct from the mother and the father. A heartbeat begins about 3 weeks. Brainwaves are detectable around 6 weeks. By 12 weeks, the baby can suck their thumb, respond to touch, and make facial expressions. Only difference between a child in the womb and the one in your arms is time and location. Scientifically, life does not magically appear at birth. It begins at conception. My body, my choice? The popular slogan crumbles under the weight of reality. The unborn child is not the mother's body. It's a separate life with separate DNA, and often different blood type, sometimes even a different sex. Saying my body, my choice ignores the facts that the baby's body is not the mother's property. Your own body isn't yours either. Scripture is clear. You are not your own, you were bought with a price. 1 Corinthians 6:19-20. Autonomy is not absolute. Every person belongs to God, and He alone is Lord over life and death. Abortion is ancient pagan sacrifice. The practice of killing children is not new. In the Old Testament, pagan nations sacrificed babies to Moloch and Baal, burning them on altars to gain favor, prosperity, or convenience. Leviticus 18:21, 2 Kings 23:10. Today's abortion industry is the modern version of the same idolatry. Children are offered up, not on stone altars, but in sterile clinics, for the sake of convenience, career, finances, or personal autonomy. The gods have changed their names, but the sacrifice looks the same. At its core, abortion is also the fruit of rejecting God's design for sex. That's the foundation of all this problem. God gave sex as a gift for covenant marriage, for joy, for intimacy, and for the gift of children. Genesis 1:28, Hebrews 13:4. When sex is ripped out of its design, used casually, selfishly, without covenant, the natural consequences of pregnancy and a lot of other things happen. Instead of taking responsibility for choices, our culture has chosen violence against the most vulnerable. Disgusting. But God calls us to something higher. Sex is holy, and life is sacred. And responsibility is not optional. Sin brings consequences, but the gospel brings forgiveness for better ways. The cross speaks to abortion. Abortion is not the unforgivable sin. Christ's blood covers even this. There is mercy for every woman who has had an abortion, for every man that has pressured a woman, every doctor who participated, if they come to the cross. The same Jesus who said, "Let the little children come to me," Matthew 19:14, also says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest," Matthew 11:28. But grace does not make abortion acceptable. Grace saves us from sin. It does not redefine sin. The gospel compels us to stand for life and call sin what it is, sin. This is not a political issue, but a spiritual battle. One of the greatest deceptions of our day is that abortion is just a political issue. It gets framed as a party line, talking points, debated like tax policies or healthcare. But abortion is not about politics. It's about spiritual warfare. Jesus said the devil was a murderer from the beginning, John 8:44. Abortion is the visible outworking of the same spirit of death. The enemy hates God's image, so he attacks it in the utmost vulnerable form, the unborn. What looks like choice on the surface is actually the clash of kingdoms underneath. The kingdom of darkness that destroys, and the kingdom of Christ that gives life. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, and against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil and the heavenly places. That's Ephesians 6:12. This isn't Democrats versus Republicans. This isn't about politics alone. This is about truth versus deception, life versus death, God versus idols. That's why the church must speak up. To stay silent is to surrender ground in a battle far greater than politics. This chapter matters because it answers the most fundamental question of all. What is a human life? If the unborn are not human, then abortion is irrelevant. But if they are, and both scripture and science say they are, then abortion is nothing less than sanctioned murder of the most defenseless. A society that devalues its most vulnerable cannot stand. History shows that when nations dehumanize entire groups, slaves, Jews, unborn, destruction follows. The church cannot whisper here. The truth that every life bears God's image is not optional. It is foundational to justice, morality, and survival itself. Abortion is not healthcare. It is not liberation. It is not a choice. It is modern-day sacrifice of children to the idols of comfort and autonomy. But God still says, choose life, that you and your offspring may live. Deuteronomy 30:19. His design is clear. Life is a gift. Children are a blessing. And every heartbeat from the very first moment bears his image.